Welcome back to Bash Bros in episode 90 episodes of Notorious Pro Wrestling, the TEW Let's Play series where we find out what exactly would happen if Conor McGregor started his own wrestling promotion. This is going to be a long episode. I am warning you right off the bat, this is going to be a long episode. The last time you guys were here was 2 weeks ago, which we will cover. There's been a lot of news since then. We also then have to look at the P12. We also then have to look at the storylines going into pay-per-view. Yeah, I am warning you right now, this will be a long episode. But I will do everything in my power to make sure it is as entertaining as possible for however long this runs. The last time you lot were with us was the February Week 1's Wanted. And that looked a little bit like this. We got a 67 rated show. Pretty dang good. Pretty dang good. On the pre-show then, we continued a couple of storylines, such as James Storm accusing Chris Hero of favouring Claudio Castagnoli since he's returned, well, debuted in NPW. Just causing that little bit of tension between Claudio and James. We were also informed that at the pay-per-view tonight there will be a fatal 4-way match. Two of the spots were already decided. The number one contender, Crazy Mary Dobson, and obviously the champion, Maki Ito, but there was still 2 spots available. And both were up for grabs tonight, as Zia Brookside went over her former Dynasty partner Tessa Blanchard. And after that then Tessa went apeshit, attacked everyone, and was removed from the building by security, and is now suspended indefinitely. And in the other qualifier, Mad Marley Quinn defeated Maiko Satomura to gain that last spot. Yes, Mad Marley Quinn is back and thrust immediately into the title picture. We also then had Lyco's Gym go to a no contest with the NIC as it got into a wild brawl. Lyco's Gym outraged and annoyed about Epitaph's attack on Jonathan Grisham, which is just a kayfabe way of us to write him out so he can heal up from his real life injury. And then in the main event, Will Hobbs defeated Claudio Castagnoli after James Storm interfered and smashed a beer bottle over Claudio's head, and that was a part of the P12 tournament. Lethal then came out to celebrate with Will Hobbs, again trying to get him on side as his muscle. However, Will Hobbs once again rejected him, leading to Lethal low-blowing Hobbs from behind. Now, moving on to the 2 weeks that you have missed. I'm not going to go into these in massive details because a lot of this will be covered in the storyline recap going into the pay-per-view match card. So in February, week 2's Wanted, a 68 rated show, very good. Starting off with a solid match, P12 match between Ray Phoenix and Miles Kamen, 69 rated there. And afterwards we had Sonico stalking Phoenix from the rafters, setting up for their future P12 match between those two. Stevie Boy then got a win over Kip Sabian. Yes, the usual bitch of the pile got a win due to a botched interference by Angelina Love. After the match then, Kip and Vicky looked like they were going to punish Angelina, but Ace Austin made the save, and Kip then challenged Ace to we'll say Angelina Love on a pole match, but that's not the case. Challenged Ace to a match at the pay-per-view tonight. Next up in the next P12 match, Easton Reese, finally looking like he's starting to warm up to the Prestige faction, enters with the lads and proceeds to beat Davey Boy Smith, not only because of the Prestige interference but also because of a Joe Henning interference too. Furious about this, Davey Boy Smith then challenged Joe Henning to a match at the pay-per-view tonight, which was accepted. And in our main event, Pac demanded to face Kenny, but he failed to mention which Kenny, so Conor McGregor said tonight he would get Kenny, but not Omega, Kenny Williams, which he defeated to retain the Notorious Pro Wrestling World title. 69 rated match there. Afterwards then, Kenny Omega appeared on the Titantron, the screen, whatever you do want to call it, and promised he would see Pac real soon, aka tonight at the pay-per-view. And in the go home show for the Obsession pay-per-view, on the pre-show, Claudio and James Storm got into a brawl backstage, and agents and Chris Hero had to get them separated. Later on the night, after losing to Mark Davis, Aussie Open and Lycos Jim are going to get a measure of revenge for Jonathan Gresham by injuring Eddie Dennis. However, the NIC come out and brawl. Once the smoke has cleared, Conor McGregor announced that Lycos Jim will face the NIC in a no DQ match tonight at the pay-per-view. Then in a backstage promo, Jake the Snake Roberts talks with Mary Dobson in regards to the return of Mad Marley Quinn, asking if Marley is going to be a problem, but Mary promises she won't be. Then in a P12 match, Joe Henning defeated Sonico only due to the fact that Davey Boy Smith attacked Joe during the middle of the match. As Joe retreated up the stage, Davey Boy reminds Joe that he's got no one to watch his back anymore. No Tessa, no Natalia, no Zia. His ass belongs to Davey Boy Smith. There's a better way to phrase that. And in our main event, James Storm and Jay Lethal defeated Claudio and Will Hobbs in a good tag match 62. James Storm then goes to smash a bottle over Claudio's head, but Hero stops him. But James Storm ends up spitting beer in Chris Hero's face. So that is the recap over. That is everything you have missed since you guys were last here. So, next thing on the agenda is let's take a look at the P12 and the current standings in it. Of course, as you remember, this year's P12 is for the NPW Intercontinental Championship, our mid-card title, and yeah, this is the current standings for Block A, with 1 to 2 matches remaining for most competitors. Top of the pile is Easton Reese with 9 points. Second in the group then is Sonico with 6, and joint third is Ray Phoenix, Joe Henning and Miles Kamen. Coming in bottom of the pile then is Davey Boy Smith with 0 points. Moving on to Block B then. Very close in Block B, as joint first is 4 people. We have Claudio, Kip, Will Hobbs and Stevie Boy. And then joint second is Mark Haskins and Ace Austin, both on 1 point. The plan is we will have the finals at the Fear No Man pay-per-view, which is the next pay-per-view on the calendar, I think. Oh no, it's Iyer Ballocks and then Fear No Man. So 2 more months and then we will have the finals of the P12. Moving on to news then. So WWE have extended a couple of contracts. I will only go over the ones that I feel like really matter, aka people I would have liked to sign. So firstly, Keith Lee has extended his contract with WWE. He is on the main roster and is doing well. But yeah, Keith Lee still with WWE in the Notorious universe. Next one, which I'm kind of devastated about, I'm not going to lie, is Pete Dunne, an extension for Pete Dunne, also called up from NXT, now on the main roster. Yeah, not lie, I would have loved to have Pete Dunne here in Notorious Pro Wrestling. He's only 30 in game, so he could have been with us for a long time. But unfortunately, now he'll probably be with WWE for a long time. And Killian Dane, also known as Big Damo, released in real life but in the Notorious universe, still with the big dub, still on NXT. Don't think he's really done much. He's won the tag titles again since with Bronson Reed. That'd be a good tag team. That'd be a real good tag team. Just big meaty man slapping mate. But yes, so Killian Dane still with WWE in the Notorious universe. WWE also had the Royal Rumble since you guys have last been here. Don't worry, Akam didn't win it. That's not the Royal Rumble. No, the Royal Rumble happened halfway through the show for some reason, and was won by Drew McIntyre, which seems like a decent fit. Last bit of world news before we go on to our own news. Don't worry, I'm not going to bet on Becky Lynch. That's not going to happen. It wouldn't. I would love Becky Lynch to come to Notorious, but that's just not on the cards. But there is a bidding war for Becky Lynch as her contract is up for negotiation. So WWE coming in with a big offer of $188,000 a month, 2 years in length. Just all of this, a signing bonus equal to 1 month's wage, and being seriously considered. And AEW also in the mix, an exclusive written contract for a little bit less money. 186,000, but more bonuses per event. Would be very interesting, in my opinion, if Becky Lynch goes to AEW. Something that might play a factor in this is, and I didn't know this until I looked here, is her and Seth Rollins broke up in the Notorious universe. So, would that negativity lead to her maybe leaving? Possibly. But yeah, so I've got to keep you up to date on that. That could be a mega move if Becky Lynch leaves and goes to AEW. Moving on then to news within our own company. We had our first lot of Notorious Fight School graduates join us. Now, I'm not going to go into them just yet, but because of this influx of talent, they're having a couple of releases. So for example, down in Rev Pro, we got rid of a couple of people. So Shreddy Breck, the reason why we got rid of him was his stamina is trash. So we've had issues with people not having good enough stamina in the past. Grado, Easton Reese, these guys could only really go 15 minutes or down to 10 if it was a specific match type, such as a hardcore match, a wild brawl, etc. Shreddy Breck was even worse than this and could only go 10 minutes, drop down to 5 with a special instruction involved for the match, which is trash. So yes, goodbye Shreddy Breck, you were very disappointing. Next up, Joel Redman, just between his age of 35 and he just like not great in ring. I got rid of him. I don't even know if I'd used him once. He wasn't really our jobber, he wasn't really anything for us, so yeah, I just got rid of him. JJ Gill, kind of the same, bar he's a bit younger, but again, he's just not very good. A lot of red and yellow there. So yeah, he's gone too. Yeah, so another release then is Amy Alonzi. This bit disappointing by this one. She has been with us since the start. Unfortunately, we had her in the main roster, wasn't really doing much of anything, dropped her down to Rev Pro, and still just continued just not to do great. She could be back, to be honest. Like, her skills aren't terrible, and she is still young, so, and she's also the current OTT Women's Champion, so as she continues to wrestle out and around the indies, there's a good chance she could be back with us eventually. Okay, so the first batch of Notorious Pro Wrestling Fight School students. So, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before, but the way I tend to do regens and stuff in my TEW games, and this is just how I do it, is that when people come in, I would kind of then alter, not their stats or attributes or anything, but I would alter their names and appearances and stuff like that, and their countries and origins and all that sort of thing, to match people who are absent in the game. So a couple of these people weren't in the game, and whether they have debuted after the most recent patch or anything like that, or they just weren't there. So that's kind of the way I do my regens. I'm not even just for my own, as people have kind of come through and I only turn my regens on for about a month a year in game. Otherwise you just have every son of a bitch under the sun joining, and before you know, your database is unwieldy and big and bloated. I turn mine on for about a month or so, around my school's graduation time. So some of these people you may have heard of, but they weren't in the game. So for me, as someone who watches a lot of ICW, Coach Tripp, he was not in the game, weirdly enough. Was not in the game. But then again, ICW and OTT started as defunct in my game, so I had to alter that in the database. So I'm not overly surprised that there's a lot of UK people missing, but regardless. So Coach Tripp, current manager in ICW in real life, he has joined us as a manager in... We have a lot of managers, by the way. For some reason we got like 3 managers in our batch of graduates, and I don't understand why. So Coach Tripp, 43 years old, that might be right, might be wrong. He's pretty average in terms of his kind of charisma and stuff, but he is going to be down as a manager in Rev Pro, so I'm not too, like, even 50 down in our developmental is still pretty high for someone's entertainment skills. But yeah, so he will be knocking about. I plan on bringing in Jason Reed, who is the wrestler that Coach Tripp manages in real life in ICW currently. Caleb Valhalla currently wrestles in Discovery in Scotland, I believe. Big guy, big guy. This guy could probably be launched almost immediately into our main event picture. He debuted as Edwin Brown, but his character must have been that of an MMA fighter, because he already came in with very high popularity, like really high popularity. So he could probably be launched immediately into the main event in Rev Pro. Talon Jr., out of the inductees from the fight school, I think he has the most potential. So if you look at his entertainment skills, holy shit, this guy can talk, which is weird for a lucha guy, but still, he just, yeah, he's great. Like, look at that, like 82 charisma, 82 microphone, 79 acting, star quality 72. This guy is nutty. In terms of his skills, they will get better with time, obviously, and he's 21, very young. But yeah, he is a future Rev Pro Cruiserweight champion without a doubt. Ryan Griffin and Darren Blair are a tag team. Ryan Griffin and Darren Blair then are the Downfall, who are also managed by Athena D, who is this lady here. So Ryan Griffin looks good, pretty average. I think he's just going to be a very solid hand. Don't see him being tag champs or anything like that, but we are in desperate need of tag teams down in Rev Pro. It's always good to get another one. Darren Blair, though, crazy young, only 18, as you can tell from that baby face. Look at that, not a hair on that cheek. But yeah, again, definitely not as good as Griffin, but because he is younger, more time, or more of a chance to improve. And then Athena, unfortunately she is just a manager, not a wrestler. But yeah, again, probably more of a muscle. In real life she's actually pretty ripped, so she is. So not a crazy amount of terms of entertainment skills, but has the look, has the sex appeal. So yeah, good to have another tag team in Rev Pro. Jay Money, another manager, currently in real life works in OTT, and he's good, definitely above average in terms of his entertainment skills, so he will be a big boost to a lot of people. Don't really know who I'll put him with now. I'm torn between, I think that someone in the Cruiserweight division, or Cruiserweight division just lacks personality at the minute. And finally, Harley Hudson. Actually a personal favorite, I'm a big fan of Harley Hudson in real life. The big pink bitch. She is very small, but she is stacked, like she is ripped to fuck, man. Again, quite young, 24, not a massive amount of skill necessarily, but above average charisma and entertainment, and good kind of star quality and sex appeal. I would say she will be pretty good, hopefully. Oh, right, okay, so that is recap covered, that is news covered, that is the P12 covered. Right, last thing before we book the show. Holy shit, this is like 30 minutes already. We need to look at the match card and all the storylines running into the Obsession pay-per-view. Ever since the debut of Claudio Castagnoli, James Storm has had a chip on his shoulder, as he feels Chris Hero is slowly but surely distancing himself from the Cowboy in favour of his old partner Claudio. Resentment turned to flat out physicality whenever James Storm cost Claudio one of his P12 matchup by smashing a beer bottle over the Swiss Superman's head. 2 weeks later, he tried to do the same thing again. However, this time Chris Hero intervened, but got a face full of beer spat at him for his troubles. That was the last straw, and tonight Claudio Castagnoli will take on the Cowboy, James Storm, to get some measure of revenge. Epitaph attacked and injured Jonathan Gresham, just to remind people they were still around. This obviously pissed off Lyco's Gym, Grisham's CCK partners, who have been on a warpath trying to get revenge for their fallen comrade. When a regular tag team match couldn't fix the issue because both teams brawled to a double count out, Conor McGregor got involved and said that tonight at the pay-per-view it would be a no DQ match between Lyco's Gym and the NIC. Whilst Ace Austin and Mark Haskins were feuding with each other, Kip Sabian slipped on in and stole both men's partners, Vicky Haskins and Angelina Love. Mark tried his best to try and reconcile with Vicky. However, something changed, storyline wise and real life wise, but something changed, and Kip Sabian and Vicky are maybe just a little bit more crazy than you would think, as Kip bloodied and bludgeoned Mark Haskins after Vicky turned on her former husband. Angelina Love was concerned about the change in attitude with Kip and Vicky and begged Ace Austin to try and save her, but the new vicious couple weren't willing to let their plaything go all that easily. When Angelina Love accidentally cost Kip Sabian one of his P12 matches, the twisted couple looked to punish her until Ace Austin made the save, and that has led to a match tonight where Ace Austin will face Kip Sabian in their P12 matchup. Dynasty is no more, or is it? We'll get to that later. Tired of the way Tessa was treating everyone, Davey Boy and Zia splintered away from the faction, even going as far to pick up a tag win over their former teammates at last month's pay-per-view. However, Joe holds a grudge against Davey Boy and has cost him several points in the P12, but Davey Boy has had enough and plans to, and I quote, own Joe Henning's ass at this pay-per-view tonight. So with P12 points on the line, it is Davey Boy Smith versus Joe Henning. Cast your minds back over a year ago when Mad Marley Quinn received a fractured skull during a tag match with her best friend Crazy Mary Dobson. This drove Crazy Mary Dobson a little bit more crazy than usual, to the point where she joined Jake the Snake Robert and his faction. Crazy Mary Dobson had been on a warpath since then, but never quite able to capture the notorious Pro Wrestling Women's Championship. Just a few months ago then, Mad Marley Quinn returned and has been trying to reach out to her friend and bring her back to somewhat more sane side of things. However, Jake is not sure that Crazy Mary Dobson's focus is 100% with the return of Mad Marley Quinn into the title picture. And after Marley qualified for this Fatal 4-Way match, it has to be asked what will happen when the two former best friends come face to face with Sia Brookside and the champion Maki Ito all in the ring together. Pac has been a poison running through the veins of Notorious Pro Wrestling since debuting. The height of this being when he captured the Notorious Pro Wrestling World Championship. To try and reclaim the top prize in this company, Conor McGregor has been sending all of the NPW veterans at the bastard. Chris Hero, James Storm, Kenny Williams, Mark Andrews, you name it. If they've been here from the start, they've tried to take the title from Pac unsuccessfully. But Conor then realised that instead of looking at the past of Notorious Pro Wrestling, he needs to look at the past of Pac and who was the biggest thorn in his side. And one name came to mind above all, and that is the best bout machine, Kenny Omega. So in his first match in Notorious Pro Wrestling, Kenny Omega takes on the NPW World Champion Pac for the coveted NPW title. So that is the card for tonight. I'm really excited for Kenny Omega versus Pac. I'm really interested to see what Kenny Omega will do with our product style. Because our product style is based primarily on in-ring performance and Kenny Omega is quite OP in that regard, I am super excited to see how that goes. As we know, Pac can bring it when need be. Right, that is 45 minutes of talking, and I am sure I told you at the start this would be a long episode, so don't blame me. But it is now time to book the show, so let's do that, shall we? Okay, and we are back, coming at you from the Limerick Hall in Limerick. It is Obsession 2023 pay-per-view. Little bit about the card then. I have made sure, learning from last time, I have made sure that I have at least one killer promo, if not two. So last time, which was Chris Hero versus Pac, they scored like a 79, I think it was, in terms of their match quality. But then we didn't really have a killer promo to back it up and help kind of bump it over the line into the 80s territory. I have learnt from my mistakes, so not only do I have a Conor McGregor promo around here, I have also put in Maki Ito into the post-match segment here after the women's title match. So that should hopefully bolster up the promo side of things. In terms of in-ring action, pretty solid across the board. I've taken a risk though on the main event, and yeah, I've made Kenny Omega versus Pac epic. This is the same match instruction we give for the Chris Hero versus Pac match last month, so hopefully it'll do the same thing. Hopefully. Right, so nothing left to do now than run the show, so let's do that, shall we? So on the pre-show, Jay Lethal defeats Jody Fleisch in 10-18 with an elbow drop. This is just to give Lethal a bit of momentum due to his storyline match with Will Hobbs that will be happening soon. 62 rated overall. Next up backstage, we see Davey Boy Smith training with the British Wrestling Embassy. This is due to the fact that we are going to have Davey Boy join the embassy, him and Natalia. Just because in real life, actually, Davey Boy Smith and Doug Williams won the NWA tag titles recently. So, but I just feel like he is a good fit for Embassy and can be like their main event guy. Lots of bonuses for Davey and Natalia and a 48 rated segment overall. Next up on the pre-show again, Aussie Open defeated Leigh Ortiz in 10 minutes 10 seconds. Jesus, following a tombstone? God damn, calm down. Kyle a 65, Mark a 66, Peter a 44, Lucas a 45, and some tag bonuses for Aussie Open. 61 overall, which is good. Now on to the main show. Maki Ito defeated Mad Marley Quinn, Zia Brookside, and Crazy Mary Dobson when Maki pinned Zia with a DDT. This is defense number 5 from Maki Ito. So Mary had a 52, Marley had a 47, Zia a 48, and Maki a 54. So Jake got some managerial bonuses. Natalia, who is still Zia's manager, need to change that, got a bit of bonus there, and Maki also has a bonus for public support. 52 rated overall, which is good. Post match then, Jake the Snake Robert comes over to Crazy Mary Dobson and discusses how disappointed he is, you know, because during the match she would have almost avoided hurting Marley Quinn, which led to the eventual pinfall. And as he's kind of berating Mary Dobson, Mad Marley Quinn gets in his and Sonico's face defending her friend, as does Maki Ito, as does Zia Brookside, all the faces. And just when it looks like Sonico is about to attack the three women, Crazy Mary Dobson attacks and clears house instead, and joins her friend Mad Marley Quinn in a big old hug in the middle of the ring. So as discussed beforehand, this will then lead to a mini feud with the Barbed Wire Dolls, which is what Mary Dobson and Marley Quinn are called, versus Maki Ito and the other Joshi wrestlers, Riho and Maiko Satomura. Before Jake introduces his replacement for Mary Dobson in his little faction, which will be Raven Creed. And then Raven Creed will kind of feud with Mary Dobson, and then that'll kind of wrap up everything after that blow-off match. So about another 2 to 3 months worth of matches. Next up then, Davey Boy Smith defeats Joe Henning in 1455 with a Bulldog Bomb. Davey had a 53, Joe had a 51. Forgot to take Natalia off of being Joe's manager, so a bit of a penalty for that. But 54 overall, which is good. Next up in a backstage promo, Epitaph with Eddie Dennis, who is using crutches to walk about, says that due to Lyco's Gym and their outrageous assault, Eddie is now injured, and that the NIC promised to get revenge for Eddie tonight. 51 rated segment. On to the match itself then. The NIC defeated Lyco's Gym after Eddie Dennis interfered, so he would have been faking the injury with the crutch and used it to sneak up and attack Kid Lycos, allowing the NIC to get the pin. So Lycos Jr. 64, Lycos himself a 61, Charlie Carter 55, Oisin Delaney 56, all in all a 63. Very good. Really good, because I'm kind of happy to see how far Lycos Jr. has come, and I'm really happy to see how far the NIC have come, and yeah, just super happy all around. Next up in a backstage promo, Conor McGregor says Kenny Omega is his last option. He doesn't know what he's going to do if Kenny fails to win tonight. 82 rated segment, because Conor talked good. And next up in a P12 match, Kip Sabian defeats Ace Austin. So during the match then, Angelina Love would interfere, leading to Kip about to super kick Angelina Love's head off. Ace would jump in the way, take the super kick for her, leading to Kip then getting the win. That's kind of how that would play out. Ace is 61, Kip is 61. Lots of bonuses there for Angelina Love and for Kip Sabian. And 61 rated segment overall. Yeah, they performed exactly as you would want them to. 61, 61, and they got a 61. So I'd love to know what the fuck these bonuses did. Clearly fuck all. But yeah, that's still very good. Very happy with that. Next up, Claudio Castagnoli defeated James Storm in 1457. Claudio a 60, James a 50, all in all a 59. That's good, but I would hope for more from Claudio. Maybe he's limited by the 15-minute match. Maybe James Storm is just not a good opponent for him. But a little bit disappointing with that, but still not a bad match at all. And in a backstage promo, Pac says he's not scared of Kenny Omega. He's beaten him before and he'll do it again. 66 rated segment. Right, main event time. Oh, what do I think? Again, with the match instruction, I am taking a risk, but I do think Pac and Kenny Omega are very good wrestlers, so I'm hoping it'll be very good. I would like to think high 70s, maybe breaking into the 80s. Hopefully. Just going by the Chris Hero match last time. Okay, so 78. It's not bad. So Kenny Omega defeated Pac in 25-26. And Kenny Omega wins the Notorious Pro Wrestling World title. In his first match in NPW, he has won the championship. So Kenny had an 86. Pac had an 85, so the biggest thing that let it down was actually the commentary. Okay, I know our commentary team isn't the best, but I didn't think it would drag it down that much. It dragged it down by 7 points. That's rough, man. So, what have we learned from this? We need a better commentary team. Okay, so we need a better commentary team, so that's maybe something to look at going forward. But all in all, I'm still very happy with that. So we ended up with a 77, which is very good. Definitely think the Conor promo helped. That's a really good, strong main event. No real weak matches. Maybe one disappointing match in terms of Claudio versus James, but I wouldn't call it bad. So all in all, exceedingly happy. Okay, so we are back. No real news to discuss coming out of the Obsession pay-per-view. Maybe this one, Seth Rollins is now WWE Champion, 3rd time in the Notorious Universe, which is good. But yeah, that's really it, guys. Next time you guys will be back is going to be March week 2, where we are going to have the debut of Kip Sabian's new gimmick. So if you've watched AEW recently, you know about his underrated over it gimmick. So that will be coming to Notorious Pro Wrestling, cardboard box in the head, all that jazz, just to make him a bit crazier. Is that the best way to describe it? Probably crazier. So yes, that is it for this week. If you have enjoyed the episode, do leave a like and subscribe to the Bash Bros channel, where you can enjoy more Notorious and other great shows. If you have any ideas at all for feuds, storylines, whatever, leave them in the comments below and I will try and book them for you. And with all that being said, I will see you next time on Bash Bros.